Prophet Station Radio. We talking simulation theory tonight. Producer Jim on the guitar, Michelangelo, making us a masterpiece. And it is I, MCJC, to ask the eternal question, is this real, or is this just a game of The Sims? Well, if so, I wish the user would figure out the money cheat.
Heyo.
Rosebud user, Rosebud. That's for all of my Sims heads out there. They remember. Clopacius, wasn't that one? Anyways, so if you click this thumbnail because you're freaked out, are we living in a simulation? We'll go through everything. And it all starts with Nick Bostrom. Are you living in a computer simulation? This is like the birth of the modern simulation theory, but it goes back thousands of years. But in 2003, he published this.
I do just want to say that I had surgery on Monday, and that's why there's bandages on my face. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Just for if anyone's just curious. So, as I recall, Nick Bostrom's basic argument is that we got three different situations. One, there's an impossible, like some inherent inability to create consciousness via simulation.
Therefore, we would never be in a simulation because we're conscious. Yeah.
Because, it can't be done. Maybe it's possible, but then it's not done for like ethical reasons. It's kind of like the wuss out. Yeah.
Right.
But the third possibility, I'm inclined to say the most likely is that it is possible. If it is possible and someone's done it, overwhelmingly, it is more statistically likely that we are of someone's simulation and, probably several layers deep.
Yeah, that I think it's important to stop here because the implication being...
not think about it anymore because it's terrifying. Just stop here. Good up, guys.
Yeah, all right, episode wrapped. The idea being if it's possible to simulate consciousness, then it's possible we are in a simulation. And if a simulation is possible to make and people start making them, then likely that will develop such that there are way more simulated people than meat and potatoes people. So then just the by random chance, you would be more likely to be simulated than not. So it's also kind of assuming that once we start simulating, we just let her rip.
Right.
Then if there's enough computing power, those simulated people can start simulating people.
Sure.
And so then we're going down into depths of simulation. I think something interesting about simulation theory is that it kind of shows up in late 90s, early 2000s. You get movies like The Matrix and The Truman Show that really are like, whoa, like, are we living in a simulation? Like, are things real? And so there's just something, there's something in the air right now. There's something in the air. Elon Musk talks about it, and people online talk about simulation theory. It's one of those meme philosophy ideas where once you start thinking about it, there's no way to falsify it or prove it, so it becomes fascinating. It also is deeply, if true, it would be in some ways deeply challenging to how we view our lives, potentially.
Yeah, sure.
Once you start thinking about it, it's it's hard to stop. You kind of oh yeah, damn.
I have to express the alternative to that. Is that it makes me lose interest really quick. It's like the free will debate where it's
right,
and I just lose interest so fast because it doesn't matter if we have the perception of free will. It's you have it essentially.
Yeah.
Even if you don't.
You're sort of simulation theory. Okay, so we're in a simulation. What are the stakes then? It's all the same.
Something akin to that, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, because it is kind of a moot point. I mean, it's Hume went through his argument that causality can never be proven was his conclusion, and then he came out and said, "But I'm going to choose to live my life as though it does, because navigating the universe would make absolutely no sense without assuming that, even if I believe I've philosophically proven that it doesn't necessarily exist.
Mm-hmm.
I guess if it came out and there was like a giant sign across the earth that's you're in a simulation,
Yeah.
I would probably have some feelings about that. Okay. I'm not gonna lie. I might be a little freaked out. But until then, you know.
What do we mean when we say simulation?
Right.
If you believe in God creating the universe, like being the origin point for the universe, there is this entity, this meta entity that is totally fully interpenetrated with the universe, but also expands beyond it. And then there's a way that then that is a simulation anyways. It's
Right.
because what we're saying is that there's some kind of reality beyond, or this reality is held inside of another reality, right? Isn't that really what we mean?
Yeah, I'm tempted to consult one of my favorite websites, Merriam-Webster.
What is micro?
Simulation, the act or process of simulating a sham object, a counterfeit, an imitative representation of the functioning of one system or process by means of the functioning of another. The one that seems most relevant is the imitative representation of the functioning of one system or process by means of the functioning of another. So, for example, you could use a computer to draw the layout of your factory and put some people in it and give them like maximum speed of motion, give them some fire exits, start a fire in the simulation and see how well they clear out with different choices for the escape routes.
I asked ChatGPT. It says a simulation is an imitation or model of a real-world system, process, or situation. So what makes it a simulation is that it's imitating that like what the claim must be that the reality beyond this simulation looks like this and this refers to it.
I see. No, I think that's good because, when I think of a simulation, I think of something that looks like, I generally think of computers, but you can do it on pen and paper or in concept, whatever. But it corresponds to something that actually exists in the plane that I'm in, but it's like made out of something that is a different material. And it's generally either designed to gain insights about the real thing or for amusement.
If we're able to create consciousness through technology or like a substrate that's able to like capture consciousness or however consciousness works, if you believe that consciousness is like a layer of reality, then all computer programs are already conscious. Like everything is already conscious. So
the so-called hard consciousness problem in neuroscience. And there's also the binding problem as part of that. To this day, people do not know how brain activity is manifested into experience. We can follow really well stimulation of nerves that are sensitive to a certain wavelength and trace where that signal of red goes all the way back and into the brain. But then, how it becomes manifested as the qualia of red is completely not understood. So it could be that we are simulations, except the consciousness element is where the gamer or the player sits in their control cockpit or whatever, however they're playing the game. But it could be that the qualia is actually the user that's piloting us because we are simulated. So we are really like, facsimiles and portions of some greater being who's, I guess, amused by all the mundane stuff that we have to do.
That's my experience of life, is what you just described, that there's like some kind of me that's like the ego me, and then there is some sort of higher self me, and that there's a relationship between those things, and that the higher self me has like other stuff they do and has done lives in the past and will do lives in the future.
So that's consistent with your experience. I've had some experiences that nowhere near convincing, but are suggestive of something like that.
Now, but I wonder if that's because we've played video games, so that's the easiest way for our
Right.
consciousness to tell us what's going on. Or do video games exist because that's the way it is up on like this realm of reality? So then just the fractal shape reappears down here.
Yeah, that could be. I don't think so much. I don't really see like us having our generation having grown up on video games. Is that because I think about at one of my places of work, I come across elderly nuns frequently. There's none better a crowd. They frequently talk about God like a second person in conversation. They like engage with the higher plane in a very familiar way. Maybe not just us growing up on video games, but growing up in the church, and all kinds of different paths can lead someone to kind of have the existence of a higher plane just be second nature almost.
Simulation theory brings that intuition into terms that a lot of young people on YouTube can understand, like a simulation game. They've played a simulation game, so that metaphor makes so much. It's not foreign. I think that what a lot of people crave in religion is for it to be native, not foreign to their lives. And when we read people who lived in like the feudal era or like in antiquity, everything they're talking about is not native to our lives, it's foreign. But simulation games are native to our experience.
Sure.
So there's something in that I feel like, while some of the cultural stuff about simulation theory I find
it sounds like there's a context at this very moment in time that this is sort of a topic that Gen Z is talking about on the TikToks. Is that the case? They're getting
it's hot and heavy.
Oh.
And Elon Musk talks about, there's kind of if I would even say there's like a right-wing young male slant to simulation theory. It's like
Interesting.
Gnosticism for incels. Are you even allowed to say incel anymore? I think that maybe
yeah, that's fine. No, I say it all the time.
Yeah, I don't know. It feels like it doesn't do anything because it still leaves the possibility open to like infinite possibilities, right? Just to say this is a simulation, it's like,
yeah,
what? I don't know what that's supposed to entail.
Sure. I don't intend to present myself as a scholar and master of every world religion, but I don't feel like discussion of possibility of our universe being a simulation really is inconsistent with any world religion, because it does seem like a very moot sort of one.
I also, to me, it's almost like a more interesting thing about simulation theory is talking about it as an emanation of human desire or like human curiosity or something, rather than as the theory itself. The first thing I would want to know is, when people get really into simulation theory, what is the dominant emotion they're experiencing at the thought of a simulation? Is it hopeless nihilism of like, oh fuck, this isn't even real? Is it dissociation? Is it excitement and wonder and curiosity? Is it euphoric connection with the divine? What are they feeling when they engage with simulation theory?
Yeah, I think there are I think all the ways you listed are possible. And I'm sure that some people find each of those, realize each of those possibilities. I do feel like in mainstream capitalist society, it's kind of an out, but also kind of like, well, like things are crappy and frustrating and not good, and because it's all just a simulation, it's sort of like it provides sort of an out to check out or feel less invested in a life that a person may be living that they don't find satisfying. They can just kind of say like, well, of course it's not satisfying. It's just nonsense on a radical fundamental level.
It has this interesting connection to the realm of spiritual thinking that really starts to toe the line with psychotic break, and like that you sort of have to have this dance with if you're wanting to go into the deep waters.
It is making me wonder, for people who are arguing for simulation theory, what is is there a purpose to the simulation? Some stuff I was listening to about Gnostic Gospels and tying that loosely to simulation theory, because, it's like a way to level up, kind of. Is there something like that is common when people are arguing for simulation theory, that's like to reach enlightenment, or is it just to have fun?
See, that's the thing that is uncool about simulation theory is it doesn't seem very enlightenment based. It's not
right.
Yeah, and I think if we do live in a simulation, that means that someone wrote it in whatever language. We could make the analogy with the computers that we write a lot of simulations in our universe. But it would not be like towards enlightenment. It would be to discover what purpose something else has for us, and it could just be amusement. It could be that maybe they're doing a test run of humans and see if they'll be worth creating for whatever their purpose might be. Like, this could literally just be, some industry who creates breeds of consciousness for slave work, and this is like their proof of concept for humans. It's not going to be like we break through and then there's God of his making. It's going to be that there's like, some pimply incel person coding us in order to like have some sort of weird fetish or whatever.
Is it really that bad of a fate that you provided entertainment or insight to someone?
I mean, I think that's the purpose of this podcast, right? So it is. We're kind of pathetic.
Is BSR? Are we trapped in a simulation, Stones?
Yeah.
What's old Elon saying?
If simulation theory is true, the most interesting outcome is the most likely, because only the simulations that are interesting will continue. The simulators will stop any simulations that are boring. And in order to avoid getting turned off, the only rule is you must keep it interesting.
We could be thousands of simulations deep.
Wow.
Not wrong.
I think that when I hear tech guys say that, I get this weird thing that they're drawing from simulation theory that there actually is no moral.
Just like every 12-year-old who had Roller Coaster Tycoon, like, we went to see how far we can make the train car fly before the fiery explosion.
Yeah.
Or just you could use the like claw to pick people up and just drop
you just
them
set
in the
them
water
on.
and they
make an
just
island.
die.
Yeah.
And you go, ha 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 ha,
Got him.
Yeah.
We would laugh.
It was alluded to earlier, and now more explicitly with Musk, like having this. Well, if it is a simulation, then there are no rules.
I'm not even sure how that follows, Like, even if this were a simulation, why would that entail morals or not?
Well, do you follow moral rules in video games? When you're playing GTA, don't you run over the poor little grannies and
I may have done that once or twice.
And that gets to our final point isn't I need to get a Slavoj Žižek sniff on our sound effects board.
Oh yes.
Oh, yeah.
But
yes,
isn't it just ideology is a simulation?
I'm not. What is that? Can you reframe that or rephrase it? Sorry.
The way that we socially construct the world creates so many limitations and contours that are considered to be real as part of the like social container that we situate ourselves in, but they're not real in the same way that like if I have a rock and I throw it and it hits you, it's like, oh shit, that's real. Like money isn't real.
Yeah.
It's not. I mean like the programming is real in some way, or the actual coins, but what we say about money, Marx would call it abstract labor. Basically, value is being talked about through money. But even you don't have to be a Marxist to just, that's obviously true. You just that's just
Right.
obviously what money is. There's like a million things that way, how we navigate culture and
Sure.
subcultures and understand what things mean and what we expect will happen next when we do certain acts. We often experience our social expectations as reality.
If anything, simulation theory is kind of like removing you from any sort of understanding. It's because it doesn't do anything. It doesn't say anything. I feel like, right? It could still be like take the Christian story. That could be the same, right? It could still just be simulation.
I think it's less like what it intellectually helps us to understand about our world. It's more what it gives you access to feeling through. If you really sit with it's a simulation, then it gives you access to these emotions of meaninglessness, or that it's like programmed and could all end at any moment, or that nothing is real. We're talking about apocalypse and non-duality and transcendence, these classic mystical intuitions and experiences and emotions people have that they don't have any fucking native language for. They don't have a culture that's telling them that stuff is part of life, but simulation theory gives them some kind of network of symbols to talk to each other about. Like,
we do live for whatever psycho reason, humans have consciousness, and we do a whole lot of constructing of realities composed of ideas and frameworks, and the question's been posed many different ways. My favorite is in Tarkovsky's Solaris, is whether we actually have relationships with things, or if our relationships are almost entirely with the idea of what those things are. And whether that's a simulation, I don't know, but I do think there is a level of abstraction and world building that every human does individually that could be argued to make them less present or immediately connected to the consensus reality. Not that that's necessarily bad or good. I wouldn't really call it a simulation, because it's not like when I have an idea of like one of you guys and you're my friend and I have a thought about you, and I put you in like woman's underwear and I giggle, like that's
hell yeah,
not really like a simulation.
It's more of a sexual fantasy.
Like
yeah, I mean,
fantasy.
yes, exactly.
Right. Awakening, the process of awakening is the process of of being in contact with reality rather than in primary contact with the simulation. If you just take time and slow down and use the tools, then it's like, oh yeah, I'm not mad at you. I'm mad of this idea of what it's like I'm mad at this simulation I'm making of you, and these like ideas I have about what you're doing or what you're up to or what it means that you've done this. We're constantly living in a simulation and getting mad about shit that's only exists in the simulation of the world that we're living in. Like, yeah.
Background in spiritual practices is Zazen school of Buddhism is my favorite. But then, I'd get in a room with some other people and we'd sit down and stare at the wall, and we weren't perceiving anything that wasn't already there, and definitely nothing that seemed to be supernatural whatsoever, but just taking the time to train our minds to stop its model building for just some amount of time. And then all of a sudden, really mundane things, I wouldn't even say they become more meaningful or more impactful. We'll just gain an awareness about them that's able to temporarily give our minds a break from themselves.
find convincing or interesting the metaphor of like human computer. I was listening to a guy talk about technological development and constructions type stuff. And he was drawing the comparison of cathedrals or pyramids, things of this sort. If you were to be able to go back and show those workers and architects what technological development we have today and the sort of ability of that tech, they might be in, like awe. And I think the machines themselves are very interesting, but look at the shit that we produce. You drive across America or whatever, and it's so much trash, and it's not that I feel like we are incapable. I don't think we're capable of even understanding consciousness. Well, and then it's even like, what is matter?
Oh,
I don't.
On
What,
that
what,
note,
what is reality? I don't think there's a agreed upon answer to that. What the fuck is reality? I don't know.
maybe we'll never know.
Probably not.
All I know is that whether it's on a hard drive or in the mind of God, I'm real glad I get to be here with you all. Prophet speaks in all of us.
And also with you.